Good evening, everybody. Welcome into the First Day Pod. I am one of your hosts, Michael Govier. We're a couple minutes late on the live stream, so we apologize. If you guys are just coming in, we are here. If you're listening on the podcast, then it starts when you press play, so it really doesn't even matter. We're excited to have on a special guest today, Leanne. Are you excited tonight?
Oh, I thought I was the guest. I was like, oh.
No, you're on the show.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I can't wait. I have a whole bunch of questions, and yeah, I'm excited.
Well, that's fantastic. Our First Day Pod guest this evening is none other than Mike Curlin. Mike is I first met him through Fantasy Baseball World, so he's an excellent fantasy baseball analyst and player himself, but he's much more than that. And recently he started a new journey kind of documenting his own health, and you can go to @OpenMikeK on Twitter to follow that experience if you so choose. Mike is a first responder. He has a lot of facets to him. We're going to talk about a bunch of different things. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, it is my privilege to have on the First Day Pod for the very first time, Mike Curlin. Hello, Mike.
What is going on? Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
I'm excited. This is definitely different. And we were talking about it a little bit before we got on. All I know is fantasy baseball podcasting. All I know is fantasy baseball. And it's time to change things up a little bit. Same people, different conversation. And we have an awesome co-host over there in Leanne. Leanne, right? That's how you say
Yes,
it.
you got it.
I'm just looking at how it's spelled, and it's separated. My mom's name is Mayann, and it's spelled Maeann. So it's like, that's why I'm like
You got
caught
it.
off guard, but at the same time, I like how you spell your name. It's really nice.
Thank you. I like how you spell yours.
Yeah.
Very, very, very original.
Yeah.
I dropped the CH and the A and the L and make Mike out and add a K. It's
Oh, I like it.
yeah, unique.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
This is
Very
what you brought.
exotic.
This is what you brought me on for, Mike. Right here.
Well, we're really glad you came out. We're going to talk about your whole journey here in a moment. But first, firstdaypod@protonmail.com. Send us an email, or you can DM us on Instagram or our Facebook page, Twitter, anywhere you find us. You can connect with us. We're still doing the book club every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We just started a new book last night, and we had a couple of new members. So we'd like to thank our new members for joining the book club last night. Right, Leanne? It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was so good. Thank you guys. The conversation, it's getting so good. And I like having the new people, and we had a new gentleman, so it's like it used to be like kind of women heavy, but now it's starting to kind of even out, which I'm really liking.
Mike, have you ever done a book club?
No, I can't say I have. Not that I'm against it. I am trying to get into reading. I have failed that goal of mine to read every day because I'm technically reading stats and stuff almost every day, it feels like. But yeah, book club's never been something I've ever done, but not against it by any means.
I was never a fan, or I never thought I'd be a part of a book club, but I'm surprised. And Patrick Kelly here says, "Who are you calling a gentleman?" And he's one of the new members of our book club. So thank you, Patrick. It's great that you came aboard. Sorry that I was late last night. And we're working on Living, Loving, Learning by Leo Biscaglia. So we just got started. So if you want to be in part of things, DM us, firstdaypod@protonmail.com. Next Monday night, you can join us. We'll send you the link. But this week, we're focused on Mr. Curlin. And I think the first question right off the bat, Mike, is why? What's the impetus for this? First off, making it public, because you could keep this private, You could have just done your own thing, made your own log about your food, and, you're working on intermittent fasting. Why don't you tell everybody kind of the whole focus of this entire thing?
The why was literally just simple. I kind of just woke up one day and it felt like rock bottom to a point, like in terms of just like my overall health, the way I felt. Dude, have you ever put on socks and been out of breath afterwards? I'm serious. Like,
I'm sure I have. Yeah.
When you have a hard time putting on socks in the morning because your stomach's in the way, there's a problem. And I say that jokingly, but it's legitimately like people that are overweight have these issues like that. It's crazy, mobility issues and all that. And I'm like, geez, like that. I'm 30 years old. I'm way too young. I got kids. But putting it out onto social media and social platforms in general was more or less an accountability thing. Because you said it, I could keep it behind the scenes. But who's keeping me in check besides myself? Who obviously I've failed for 10 years now doing that. So who's keeping me in check, other than everyone else now. Everyone else, not necessarily anyone is going to try to keep me in check, but I think people are legitimately encouraging me, people that are following along, and that kind of keeps me going in a sense, not because I feel the need to please them, but I feel the need that that I am accountable now. I have people to prove it to other than myself that I can do it, and it was just kind of a way of saying, you know what? Let's put it out there. Plus, we all know this is a common issue. Like what's happening to me, what I'm going through isn't anything special. I'm just trying to share my process, and I haven't shared as much as I'd like. I just haven't gotten around to those projects because of other projects. But all together, though, it's just been it's been fun and it's been enlightening, and it's just kind of going with it.
But because I thought of somebody who sent us a message a couple months ago about fat shaming, because we were trying to get off sugar, and it's not about fat shaming. I want this to be very clear. It's not about trying to make people feel less than about their situations. Our situation for me and Leanne and quitting sugar, trying to get healthier, is because we want to be healthier. And if we lose fat, that's a natural byproduct of that, which improves our, reduces diabetes risks and other health, cardiovascular issues. There's a lot of health factors that go into it. So it's not about fat shaming at all. And I want that to be clear. So I wonder how you see that as well.
I hope I didn't take it that way.
No, you didn't.
I made that joke, but I was kind of being serious because these are personal experiences. I personally have issues with being overweight. I mean, I never thought I'd see the day. I hit 304 pounds, Mike. That's a lot of weight.
Wow.
I'm 6'1", so I carry it well. I've always carried it well, but it got to a point where in pictures I could see it clearly these days, and I've never thought I hit 300 pounds. So like I weighed in today, I was 10 pounds lighter, so I'm on the right track. But weight loss, like you said, thanks. Weight loss is kind of a primary motivator, but a secondary, true secondary reasoning though. Even though it's one of the things I'm really striving for is to lose weight, but it's ultimately to be healthier. And like you said, losing weight is like a byproduct of just trying to be healthier. I've actually cut out sugars, not all the way, but I've tremendously cut down. Like I've actually gotten to the self-control where I can have just one cookie. Normally it's one pack of cookies. Like that's where I'm at. Like I've transitioned to that. And there's more days than not so far. It's been 18 days or 19 days now. And I haven't had sugar, like processed sugar every day. And honestly, I feel great. It's not just a physical wellness I feel. There's a mental clarity. I feel sharper. I'm able to actually focus and study up and do stuff that I haven't been able to do in a long time. And I thought a lot of it was just because I've had doctors tell me I had ADD but I never really been diagnosed. I never really went all the way. They always were suspicious of it. My mom refused to get me tested type of thing when I was a kid. So my focus has already been like, hey, squirrel. And you know me, Mike. I'm squirrely all the time. But this is like the first time in a long time where I'm able to sit down and focus on a singular task for more than 2 minutes, like 3 or 4. So it's improving. And I think a lot of that is the overall just wellness of taking better care of myself as a whole.
That's awesome. Yeah. Let's give it up for Mike. Yeah.
Ooh. Woo! I like that.
I think that's fantastic, man. It's not about how you look. It's more about your long-term health. It'll just be a natural byproduct that you'll lose fat. I mean, having too much fat and unhealthy foods in your system will lead to disease. That's what it's about. It's not about a look. If your main focus is a vanity obsession, you'll probably fail in the end. It could lead you somewhere, but I find that it would be more sustaining long-term if you want to be around. And you have kids and a family too, so that's another motivator. And allows you to be like, this isn't just about my well-being. It's about being around for them and experience their life as long as I possibly can in a healthy way. And, if you can't have just one, then you got to cut it out. That's why we have Dave Wolf on from, Trigger Free Nutrition. He has admitted in his own experience that he just can't touch one. And so he just cuts himself off completely. But if it's a progressive thing and then you wean off eventually or however you do it, everyone's got their own experience as well. So we try to keep it individualized as much as we can.
I agree. And a big thing with me is this is beyond a diet. For the first time I could say that. And I know it sounds cliche and kind of corny to call it a lifestyle change, but I have made legitimate changes in my lifestyle. I'm trying to, and the idea of keeping it and calling it a lifestyle change is that I want to keep this around for long term. I don't want it to be a 3-month fad where I lose a bunch of weight, get off this whole thing, and then turn around and next thing you know, I'm gaining the weight back because it was just a diet. It was just a fad. I'm trying to change this long term, so thus the term lifestyle change. And I know it's a very cliche term, a very like corny term. Like, people like they say you need to make lifestyle changes, but I'm walking more. I'm just overall more active with my kids. I use I take my kids outside a lot more. I'm actively trying to change my bad habits and make them into long-term good habits. And that's what this is also all about. Again, the weight loss change, I know the weight loss was kind of the focus of it when I started, but there's way more to it. And that's honestly part of it. I probably should work on highlighting more on the social media platforms because I want to try to be relatable. I think there are so many people that go through this on so many different ways. And I'm trying to show them I'm just a regular person. I really am. I'm you, me, and anybody who knows me. I'm definitely just a regular normal person, but I'm trying to show them if I can do it, you can too. And again, very corny, I get it, but it's very true. I very honestly feel that way. If someone like me, who literally spent the last 10 years struggling with just trying to better myself, finally saying, you know what, it's about time, and radically doing so, just randomly waking up in a day in December before the new year, so it's not a new year, new me, but I'm okay with it being a new year, new me. I don't care what you call it. I don't care what it is, as long as at the end of the day, I'm doing better for myself and trying to make those around me more encouraged to maybe do better for themselves. It's a win.
Amazing. So, okay, so you said that you've been struggling for 10 years.
Yeah.
Looking back, can you say like kind of what you think that your actual issues were? Like for me, I finally realized that I have an addiction to food, which I was on diets, off diets, doing all of this kind of stuff. And it wasn't until I was actually introduced, which sounds so ridiculous that I didn't know that addiction happened around food. Then I could like kind of in retrospect look and be like, that was my issue. I was constantly like binging and then dieting. And so do you have kind of like looking back what your issues were of what got you to where you were?
1,000%. I'm with you when it comes to food addiction. Like I thought that was like a made up thing for a long time, and then I watched a couple documentaries. And first off, I think I know it all when I'm done, but you know I don't. But in all seriousness, though, you start just reading stuff. You start reading, and you mentioned giving up sugar. You realize sugar gives you the same pleasure systems as like heroin, I believe it was, according to the studies I was reading, and so stuff like that. When you're getting the same pleasure from food or from a processed food that other drugs give you, and then it's that reasoning why you want to eat more of it. The same reason why you can sit down and eat a couple Doritos and then you end up eating the whole bag before you notice, because your brain's telling you to eat more, and it's frustrating. So stuff like that. It wasn't even the whole like honestly, it was a lot of willful ignorance. I was like, I knew what was bad for me. I knew how to work out. I knew how to eat right. I just said I didn't care. I'm like, oh, I'll start tomorrow or I'll start the next day. A lot of it was just
hey, that's why I call it the first day of the rest of our lives
Yeah.
podcast. Tomorrow's the first day, Mike.
Yeah, the problem is though is you have to follow through because tomorrow never comes. That's the problem. You have to follow through, and I actually went full vegan, like legit vegan diet, like for 2 months at one point in my life. I felt the best I ever felt in my life, but the day I gave up was the day I went out to eat and I just smelt a cheeseburger, had to have one, and from there it went back down. It went downhill. But the reason why I felt so great, I'm not even advocating going that extreme because find what works for you, but I felt so great because I was just eating more whole foods, more vegetables, just more everything, one ingredient foods. That's what I've kind of tried to go back to. I'm not vegetarian or vegan now. I just stick to, I stick to the intermittent fasting and single ingredient foods. But going back to your question, is just, again, I think I'm just, honestly, I'm really good at rambling. I'm really good at talking. I could fill
It's all
an hour
making
in
sense,
5
believe it or
minutes.
not. Yeah, it's all making sense.
But circling back, yes, I think it honestly is like don't realize you're addicted to food until you start giving this stuff up. Like it's been, like I said, it's been about 18 days now of eating better, and I completely feel better. I feel so much better eating the cleaner, and I'm realizing I never needed those foods in the first place. I can say no to cookies now. I can say no to, like, I haven't eaten my kids' sugary cereal, stuff like that. You can pick at stuff here and there. I haven't eaten any of that stuff, and I'm surrounded by it. Well, not as much. My kids are my wife is part of, like, she's trying to be better too, so she's it's a good place to live right now. There's not a lot of that stuff in the house right now. But even if there was, like, I go to the firehouse because you mentioned I'm first responder, so I go to the firehouse. There's cookies on the counter. There's ice cream available at the Dollar General down the street. I'm not going out of my way to getting that stuff anymore. And that's kind of one of the first changes I've noticed. I haven't even felt the urge to go. I went to the Dollar General yesterday. I didn't even walk in. I didn't feel the urge to go get anything. I didn't need anything. I brought my food to work. So stuff like that. It's like it's that addiction is where it all kind of, I failed multiple times, and I think a lot of it was just another part of the reason why I failed so much was trying to go too hard too fast. That was a big thing. It's like I mentioned, radical changes. I became a vegan overnight. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, really? It worked for 2 months, and then I crashed hard and never recovered. That was the last time I died, like 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh.
Well, look, this whole world is riddled with cliches, so it's you don't even have to say that, because whether you make a lifestyle change or you say it's not a diet, all of those are cliches, because this is an industry in itself. It's been perpetuated and pushed and repackaged in hundreds of different ways. And like Patrick Kelly says here, 98% of diets fail and people return to their original weight within 5 years. But it's all about lifestyle balance and moderation. I think that's a good point, Patrick. I know in 2010-11, I lost 60 pounds, and, I finished P90X. I did it. Ooh. Truly. I did it all the way through back in the day. No bullshit. No like half-assing it. So I did
the first month of insanity and then hurt myself and failed, but I did it.
Exactly.
I did the first month, and dude, that stuff, like, if you actually eat and work out to that, you'll see the results. But I apologize, I'm not the host. You're telling a story.
No, you're right. Sir. The point is that I went back to the original weight in probably about 5 years. I really did, because I hadn't really reformatted what I was doing. I just kind of went obsessive on a new strategy, but I didn't change my ways for good, because I would have, and I me and Leanne have argued about this, the cheat day. Sundays were cheat days. Mm-hmm. And I think now, after my experience, they're just gateways to eventually going back. I think for me, I have to cut that out entirely. There can't be a cheat day, because then one cheat day becomes 2 days in a row. And just like you were saying, Mike, 3 days in a row. You go on a vegan diet for a couple months, then you crash, and then all the days are gone and they become repetitive back to the old ways. So I that's how I feel about those now.
Cheat days are a great thing. I love that you mentioned that. They're a great thing in terms of great conversation piece, not a great thing because you're right. That cheat day turned into cheat days, that turned into cheat weeks, and then turned into, it was legitimately, because I would do the cheat days. Now I've honestly turned to cheat moments. I'll have a couple bites of chocolate and walk away. That's my cheat moment. That fixes that craving. As long as I walk away, drink some water, go work out, then the craving goes away. I have to walk away from what I'm doing though. But I've learned to personally transition to cheat moments, little things. Like I'm not gonna die if I have a single Reese's cup. I'm gonna die if I have that bag of them that's right in front of me.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Or honestly, the other day I had a cookie. It was amazing. I ate half, threw the other half in the trash because I won't go dumpster diving.
That's so amazing. Well, good for you, because I'm not above that.
That's this isn't. I don't know. Again, it's a part of it's motivating. Part of it is just trying to stick to this. I mean, I feel committed. I'm doing well. I'm getting. Like I said, putting it out there makes a big difference personally for me. It doesn't. A lot of people don't want to put it out there. You haven't seen pictures of me before and after, because first off, I'm not at the after. But the before pictures are embarrassing. I won't put those out there yet. The actual pictures of me working out are embarrassing. I'm not saying, like, I'm not holier than thou. I'm not. Putting it out there doesn't make me braver than anybody. I'm just willing to document some of it openly, the stuff that I feel like might be helpful and maybe motivate others to kind of do this with me. But there are parts of it that I'm still just as vulnerable as anybody else. I'm just trying to show parts of what's going on, because I want to show that even though I'm vulnerable, I'm still willing to take on the criticism and put it out there. And look, I even mentioned I was honest when I failed. I had a hard time eating for 3 days. I still fasted, but in my eating window, I did not eat well. So I was pretty much breaking even. I think I even gained a pound or two probably during those days as well. Got back to eating right the last 3 days. I feel great again. So it's just a matter of a lot of it's just being honest. I'm a real person. I'm a real person with weight issues, with food addiction issues, going through these struggles, and I know people can relate. I just put it out there. But again, there's still things I'm keeping to myself.
Oh, the whole country of processed food. It's been pushed upon all of us with advertising. It's every time you watch a football game or you watch your favorite TV show, all the advertisements are mixed around these Doritos and sodas, and even sodas try to put a spin on it now, and Coke Zeros, and the diets are just as bad as the regular sodas in the end for you. So it's a maddening experience. It's exhausting. And we're talking with Mike Curlin. You can check out his Twitter handle at OpenMikeK. Follow his experience. One of the things you have mentioned, and I want to hear more about, is the intermittent fasting. So why is that one of the things you've chosen? Are you just curious about it, or have you talked to people who you respected that said, hey, I really found some positive results with this intermittent fasting?
So it was between a YouTube worm, like a rabbit hole, and a couple of articles I started reading. And I've tried it in the past. My wife's done it successfully in the past. Really enjoyed the way she felt on it. I failed two other times at it. I think two other times. I think, and a lot of it was just getting used to pushing yourself to actually meet the whole window and all that. But from what I'm gathering from it, it's essentially like I'm not doing like daily. I'm not fasting once a day. There's different ways to do it. There's like a 5-2 where you fast for 2 full days and then you eat for 5 regular days, and then there's like I forgot there's a few other diets, but I'm doing the 16-8 where I fast for 16 hours, eat for 8. Lately, I've been doing more of like an 18-hour fast and eat for 6 because once I hit a certain point, I'm not hungry. But the part of it that really intrigued me was that at a certain point, again, this is paraphrasing a lot of the stuff I've been reading and watching, is just that your body starts breaking down the fat molecules to create energy, and it's in a good way. It's also giving your body a chance to rest in terms of the digestion process. So your body's not always working. And all these things and then once you break a fast, you break it with certain foods because then it opens up, because your insulin spikes and then it only takes in certain foods to the cells, et cetera, et cetera. I'm getting really more in depth than I'm actually probably should because I'm not as educated as I'm still working on educating myself more on that stuff. But overall, it's just, I found it works for me. It's not for everybody. There's people that actively speak out against it with very valid arguments. But it works for me. It helps me. Not only does it help suppress my appetite, control what I eat, make me more mindful of what I eat, but it also has kept it's keeping me at a calorie deficit, or like I said, or if I have a bad day, I typically break even because the idea of losing weight, if you're trying to lose weight as a part of it, is creating that calorie deficit, burning more than you're taking in, thus losing the weight that comes off with it. So, but the pros for me have been I don't pick anymore, and what I mean by pick is like I have kids. You make them eggs in the morning, you make them cereal, you do whatever. Throughout the day, you're just like, for lunch, you're making them chip. Like you might throw some chips on a plate with a sandwich. I'm not picking at those chips. I'm not picking at the cereal. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but what it has done is given me that discipline to be, and that awareness of what I'm putting in my body. Because now it's like, how many? Like, sure, a handful of Cheerios wasn't gonna hurt me, but a handful of Cheerios, a handful of chips, a couple times a day, and then just little things like that add up. And then late at night, I don't eat past, like, today. I finished eating around 7 or so. I'm not gonna be eating till tomorrow at 1, and I'm good with that. Like, I'm just drinking water and black coffee. And but again, I'm just remaining mindful. I'm gonna be up late tonight, so it might be a little bit of a struggle, but it's okay. I just chug some water and go to bed, man. It's and I'm not, but don't get me wrong. If I feel like, I also read my body. If I feel really bad, if I feel crappy, if I'm really struggling, I'm not gonna push it myself either. I will break my fast if I truly feel like I'm crappy and need to eat or need to put supplement in my body. So that is, you have to be really in tune with how you feel. And I've even worked out plenty of times while fasting and felt better when I was done working out, actually, and pretty good during the workout. So again, it's a matter of, but again, it always goes back to what works for you. And I found this has worked for me for various reasons to this point.
That's awesome. And I think the lifestyle, when you look at it like a lifestyle change, that's when you can do that. Like, I'm going to break today because I need to break today. Where if it's a diet, you're not going to want to break. But when you look at it like this is the rest of my life, and one break tonight because I need it isn't going to throw me off kilter. Yeah. We're talking about water. So have you always been good with your water intake, or is that something that you're trying to work on now? I'm always curious because I struggle.
It's always been up and down with me, and usually it goes with my diets, because with my, what do they say? Oh, you need to get a gallon of water a day. Mm-hmm. I've stopped pushing for a certain amount. I drink when I'm thirsty. It's that simple. I drink when I'm thirsty, or if I know I'm gonna go for a nice long walk, if I know I'm gonna work out, I'll drink a little extra to supplement through the workout. Plus, I drink while I'm doing it, but not as much, because I don't want my body to burn out either and become dehydrated. And I understand dehydration pretty well. Not no expert, but I just, between playing sports my whole life and then being a first responder with, being on the paramedic side of things, you just see what dehydration does to the body. I do try to make sure my pee is always clear, as weird as that sounds. Like, I think that's obviously a good indication that you're hydrated. But you also you do want to be careful, though, because you can overhydrate. So that's why I won't force more water than I need to. I drink when I'm thirsty, and that's honestly what I try to stick to.
Awesome.
I think if you drink when you're thirsty, you'll be fine. That's all it takes.
But
if anything,
I actually will drink when I'm hungry too. I forgot to mention that. I will drink when I'm hungry first to make sure. Well, there's two reasons. One, to make sure it's not thirst that's driving that feeling of hunger. Because sometimes you feel like you're hungry when you eat. you're like, I'm still hungry. No, or it triggers the thirst. You realize sometimes it was thirst triggering that feeling of hunger. So I lied. I will drink when I'm hungry as well to make sure, and I will drink before a meal to help fill me up more.
Hey, sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't. Oh, man. See, these slogans are in our head. These sugary, sugary nightmares. I got to tell you, I got a book in the mail the other day. Leanne, you bought it for me, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very nice of you. But it's from Dave Wolf, who's going to be on our show on the 26th, right? 2 weeks from now.
Mm-hmm, 2 weeks
and
from
he's been on our show many times. Him and his mother, Judy, they've started this sugar-free movement. And they're very, very hardcore about it. And they've done wonders for other people. And that's what's great about them. They create support groups. And I just wanted to thank Dave personally on the show today. Thank you, Dave, for sending this. He personally signed it and even said on the opening page here, Michael, I honor your journey and my small part in it. Keep going. I believe in you. Your friend, David Wolf. Thanks, David. It's called The Fix for Cravings. It's that simple. So I've just started looking at it, and I will keep you guys posted on what I think of it, because I know that this will help me. And it doesn't mean I have to take everything from this book, but if there's parts of it I'm pretty confident will help me, and they can help others too. So we'll keep sharing that as we go along. We also want to thank Will Mims for creating our new logo, which is behind Leanne there. You can't see the sun, but it's back there. You know, we
I'm
have
the
like
sun.
You're the sun.
She's the sunshine, man. Yeah.
For listening to the podcast, you can't see it, but if you are listening to the podcast, you can see the logo on whatever format you are listening to the show. So thank you, Will, for all the wonderful new treats you sent us. We're very grateful for that.
Yes,
all
thank
right.
you.
I
should actually, before you go, this is a great, so Dave and a couple of his other kind of people that are in the no sugar, they have right now, it's called the Quit Sugar Summit.com, and it's a free summit all week. So it's from the 11th to the 17th. Today's like day 2. They have, I think, like in its entirety, they're going to have 50 experts on that are going to be talking about, you know, how bad sugar is, what it's actually doing to your body, tactics, ways of working this out. And the way that it works is every day is free. So you can sign up. They'll send you emails. You have 24 access to all of those people that were talking. And then the next day it goes off, like after the 24 hours. You can pay to get all of the talks. But if you can just stay up on it and see the ones that you want, then you can have it as a free summit, which they want just to be able to get this out to everybody. So it's quitsugarsummit.com. So you guys can check it out. Even though we're going on to day 3 tomorrow, I mean, there's still, 3 more days left. So that's it.
Oh, it's never too late. That's awesome. Thank you, Leanne. Thanks, Dave.
I have a question for you two. Is that okay?
No,
Yeah.
you can't. We only ask you questions.
Well, I hate to barge in as the host, but
Yeah, no.
I'm genuinely. No, you mentioned quitting sugar. How long have the two of you quit, and how are you feeling from it?
Mike, you go.
Whichever
I'll
one
answer
you want to
after.
jump in on this.
Look, we started November 5th. We tried to quit sugar. November 5th was just a couple months ago, 2 months ago. And it has not been a consecutive streak. We'll be honest about that. It's been ups and downs, but we've been kind of like you. We've had our moments, and we've been on good runs, and then there's been slippages, and it's just part of the game. So right now, I'm on a decent streak again, but, it's just never-ending battle, and I know it's not good for me. I read about it a lot. I listen to people like you. I listen to people come on the show, like Dave and Judy, and it's just a thing that I might be one of those people where I just cannot have it at all. Because if I have it once, I want to keep having it. And the fact that you're able to have these moments, that's what I'm going to be really curious, Mike, to see if these moments end up having a long-term impact and stay that way, and then you cut them out entirely, because that would be a big success story. So I'm going to be bugging you about that for a while.
Well, there are moments, like I mentioned, and they were kind of bigger moments, those like that 3-day I struggled, a 3-day little hiatus, like I said.
Yeah.
But it was funny because I would eat like a good meal, like a healthy meal, then I would eat a little heavy with a treat in between I shouldn't have had. But then like today, in the last 3 days, I haven't had any processed sugar at all. No cookies, no snacks, no nothing. So they have truly been moments. It's not even a daily moment. It's a moment once here, once there. So it's like I have been going back and forth, actually. But what's helped me, maybe it's just a mental thing, maybe it's like a psyching myself out thing, is I look at that food and I say, that's how you got here. You know what it tastes like.
Yeah.
Like, you don't deserve it. Like, pretty much, like, I take myself out of it. You know what that tastes like. You've had that cookie. You've had that piece of cake. You've had it all 1,000 times. That's the problem. So for me, it's one more of like a, you look what it did to you. You were not a happy person. You are happier now. But and I don't want to. I know mental illness is a big deal. We could talk about depression, but I've never dealt with depression. I can honestly say, as lucky as I've been very fortunate, because depression is very real. And where I was at was a low place, but never a point where I was depressed. And like, there was a sadness, but it wasn't. I wouldn't classify as depression. But regardless, my point is because I know I'm getting kind of dark. I'm saying, like, I'm kind of mean to myself, but I'm pretty much just trying to be real with myself in these moments. So it's like, yeah, I cave and have these cheap moments, but I try not to, because I literally look at that food, and that's why I throw the cookie away. I have a bite or two. I'm like, was it really worth it? Was that worth it? Because now you feel guilty the rest of the day, or you might wake up. You might wake up and feel a little bloated or feel a little uncomfortable. Well, you know what that feeling is. You don't like that feeling. So why give yourself that feeling? So that's why maybe it's a little meaner than myself than I need to be, but I like to look at it like I'm keeping it real with myself. Like, you got here for you got this far. You got this far in a negative way for a reason. You want to get a certain place in a positive way. That it's not a straight line there, but it's easier to remind yourself how to get there faster is by avoiding the things that got you at the starting point in the first place.
Yeah, and it's funny because that's what you'll say is like, oh, maybe that's me being mean to me. But like, hoovering down like a whole bag of cookies is not nice to you. So, but nobody looks at it like that. Like, as soon as I remember I went on a few months ago, I went on the celery juicing thing where you do like celery juice every morning, and it took like forever for me to do whatever. Do you know how many people said, I don't know, do you think that's healthy? Do you think that's safe? Like, do you think you should do that? Meanwhile, we could go to McDonald's and I could get like supersize everything, and nobody says, hey, do you think that's healthy? No, they're like, oh, okay, cool. Grab me some extra fries. Like, it's such like a weird thing, you know? So talking to yourself and being honest about it, I think it's the way to go. Even if it is a little bit harsh, you're not calling yourself like, oh, you know, I'm ugly and I'm this and I'm that. You're just saying, hey, man, like,
been there, done that. I know how it feels.
Like, exactly. It's reflecting and learning. Yeah.
I also like to talk to myself a lot. That's kind of just a weird thing, though. But
well, that's a good thing. People need to talk to themselves more often. I think that's a very healthy thing to do, because you've learned these behaviors. I've learned these behaviors. You didn't come into this world saying, you know what, I need an Oreo. That wasn't the first thing on your mind when we were born. None of us were. And
I would like to argue that and say it was.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, we could have another podcast about that. But you don't have a mental health aspect to this as much, which is interesting. I mean, like an illness.
No. You're right. I understand, because a lot of people usually, when they struggle with weight and struggle with other things, there's usually a depression factor or something else.
Or you're covering, you're trying to avoid something else in your life, stress. You know.
No, I straight up was lazy. I was straight up lazy. Like,
okay.
it was. I was like what is it? Like a sloth, like whatever the sin is. I can't think of the word. Glutton. I was very much. Sorry, you can read.
Glutton is okay. Go ahead, say it.
Oh no, I just saw you pop up the comment.
Oh, that doesn't mean anything. You can see he is AD, just like you, Leanne.
Just don't look.
Yeah,
I only look like I'm looking from your chin up, because I can't look where those comments are. Otherwise, I'm like, squirrel.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad with them, but that's why I was like, I stopped what I was doing. But yeah, it's I just honestly, a lot of it was laziness and a willful ignorance.
Yeah.
But the fact that I acknowledge that is a step farther than I've come in a long time.
That's huge. That is so crucial. People try to justify our food supply. It's a nightmare. It's a real mess. I actually wonder, you have children, so do you think about that now? Like, do you think you have an obligation to maybe like limit sugar in these things, the more things that you're starting to learn about these foods, or are you just going to let them figure it out on their own?
I let them be kids still. I don't completely take everything. Like, we don't do white bread in the house. We do a lot of whole grain stuff, a lot of healthier options, a lot of smoothies, fun stuff that is still healthy-ish, but like not like obviously smoothies, they're not terrible like if you do them right, but they're not the healthiest food either. But like we'll treat them with like some Lucky Charms here and there. But a lot of times we get organic cereal a lot, organic oats and stuff. So we're teaching them proper habits. But we do give in, like, we buy organic fruit snacks, but they're still fruit snacks. Like, just because they're still just because they're organic doesn't mean they're healthy. So I'm fully aware. But what we do is we try to limit it. We let them be kids, but at the same time teach them. And I'm very harsh on myself, and maybe that is a negative, because I'll look at my son and be like, you see what you're eating there? Keep eating that. You're gonna look like me. That's why I tell my kids.
It's possible.
I shit you not, man.
It's possible.
And my kids, I'm like, for the longest time, again, before a month ago, I wouldn't take them outside to ride their bikes. I wouldn't do these things. I was too lazy.
But it's not how you would look, though. It's how you would feel like you, too, which was not good.
No, but I think I feel like maybe that's projecting the wrong idea of my kids. You're right, because now that I'm going to make them think that looks matter as much as they do, and they really shouldn't. I just think being healthy matters, and being healthy usually leads to being, in better shape and stuff. So maybe I'm portraying the wrong message to my kids. So that's something I should work on as a parent, and that's fine. This conversation was actually helpful.
Well, mood and attitude is
he's
related,
surprised that something was helpful on this show.
Yay!
Well, think about it. I mean, we just self-reflected on something I do wrong as a parent. I'm not perfect.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Can't believe he's
crazy.
on the show. How did we get the guy who wasn't perfect on the show? Ridiculous. No, mood and attitude is really affected by these foods that we eat.
Yes.
And that's the key about it. The physical part is obvious. What people miss the most, and something I really found out when I'm eating good here on these streaks, I just bought $200 worth of ribeyes at Costco over the weekend. So I'm really, they're great. Ribeyes taste great, and there's no sugar or carbs, so I'm fine with that. And the fats are good for us. People, I'm not trying to be negative to the vegan crowds or to vegetarians, but there are animal fats that are good for us. And the 70s and the 60s that push this notion about heart attacks, all the fat clogs your arteries. It's the other things that clog your arteries. The sugars and these carbs create all this buildup too. It's not just that. It was like we have to fight so many misnomers and a lack of understanding and awareness. Like you said yourself, Mike, I didn't know this stuff initially. I went on this first journey of discovery about sugar and food when I turned 30 and I lost all that weight. That's when I had my first foray, So you're right on schedule, man. I think you should be proud of yourself, and the fact I didn't document my journey back then, you are. And what do you have a goal right now, or are you just kind of taking it day by day?
So I think I mentioned behind the scenes a little bit. Like, I did want to start like a secondary, maybe a podcast or YouTube channel, just something that's more open. But between, honestly, like you mentioned, fantasy baseball being a hobby of mine, it's a passion as well, and I do so much time on that stuff that kind of does take the forefront, especially as we enter baseball season. So maybe I should try to make time for this more. I really should. But ultimately, I'm okay right now. I'm in a good place, and I think the little bit I am doing to put it out there is good for now. I would like to do more, because I think it really can encourage others to just be more self-aware about things. And the big thing, I don't know, I'm good. Like you're right. I just take it day by day, man. I wake up every day and I remind myself, it's just another day. Like, trying to think too far into the future has also been an issue. If I set myself, like, if I set a goal like, I want to lose 10 pounds this month, and I miss that goal, then I get really down on myself and I just give up. If I literally look at it like, I want to make every day good. I want to be consistent. I want to build good habits. Mm-hmm. Every day is a new day. Another cliche for the show, of course. And I really do. I wake up every morning and I just try to remind myself, conquer today. Like, do today. Worry about tomorrow, but do today.
Yeah.
Awesome.
When it comes to my health, when it comes to bills and stuff, that's another thing. But when it comes to my personal health, it is a day by day process and idea now. I've transitioned from thinking long term on that.
Well, you can always come on this show and document your journey anytime you want, Mike. Seriously. So if you don't, if you find yourself like, hey, you know what? I haven't checked in. You have a standing invite any month you want to come on back and talk more about this, because we're trying to connect with people like you and me and Leanne. All three of us are just regular Joes, regular Janes. Mm-hmm. We're not unique. We're quite common. And I know that there's a lot of other people out there like us. And that's why we started doing this podcast in the first place, because we know we're not alone. And when you started doing yours, it just reminded me, at least, that, wow, see, I knew it. I knew there's other people like that, and they're just in hiding. Like, you've come out of the woodwork. I think that takes a lot of credit and courage, and it should be commended. I don't think this should be like, oh, it's no big deal. No, this is a big deal. Not everybody's willing to do this. So good job.
Yeah,
And I appreciate that. I just have a hard time. One, I've always been bad with compliments, so I thank you. And
Well,
I
that's
do know,
America, man. That's fine.
yeah, well, some people are really like, oh yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, you're
Like,
right. Wait, I take
I'm
that
like,
back. America is filled with like a giant head of hot air. You're right. Never
I was
mind.
gonna say,
Yeah, so.
you realize what TikTok is, right? Like,
Yeah.
come on now. It's all about they call it clout chasing. Like that's stop. Honestly, and I just look at it like this because again, because I work as a first responder. I see like the thing is that drove me crazy and still does when I say it out loud. I see, I literally treat people with these illnesses you were mentioning it almost daily. Diabetes, heart disease. I see people die way too young because of how they treat themselves. And that should have woke me up a lot longer because I've been doing this for going on 5 years now. 5 years next month.
Wow.
And I've seen it for beyond that. But it starts clicking. And as I'm getting older and understanding the fact that at 30 years old I can have, I could get diabetes, I can have high blood pressure, I can have high cholesterol. It starts hitting home more because I'm like, crap. I'm not old, but I'm not young anymore either. I'm not. This is the age where everything starts hitting you more. Like it definitely starts kicking you right in the ass and reminding you.
Hey, if I could spare you 10,
on.
I'm 40 now. If I could spare you 10 more years of mistakes I made, I would love to impart that upon you. Make the change now.
I really beat myself up for almost a decade, man. Like I said, I hit 304 pounds. Like that's not the heaviest person you'll ever meet. That's not the heaviest person that will go through what I'm doing. But that's a lot of weight, man. Like if I can reach my goal by my birthday was 30. Last year was supposed to be 30 for 30, a play on the whole ESPN thing. This year I'm going 31 for 31. I want to lose 31 pounds on my 31st birthday in May. So middle of May, I'm already 10 pounds there. So obviously it's a realistic goal. And then from there, we'll just keep going. But that's kind of like the first, like if you want to talk about long-term goals, I'm trying to keep it like fun and remind myself, okay. And it leaves me a little room for error, like the other days. So, because I have so much weight to lose, if I just being healthier, it'll come off. But yeah, it started off as I want to lose weight to I just want to be healthier. That's where I'm at now.
Beautiful.
Awesome. And where do you document? So do you do Twitter? Do you do anything else?
Just Twitter. I was thinking about like there was a podcast idea because I love podcasting, but at the same time, again, I just have so many commitments. I don't want to half-ass it. I don't. But I have so many commitments, and you see these excuses I'm giving? These are the same excuses that stopped me from doing this for 10 years. So I need to get off my ass and just do them. But I've talked to a couple of people behind the scenes on helping out, and I might even just start maybe my thing is even a solo podcast, and it wasn't even it was just more a way to be vocal about my experience and putting it out there so people can see the real struggles, the just, again, being authentic, because you see these weight loss stories and you never know the person. I'm trying to, and not that I have a huge following on Twitter, but I used my bigger platform to promote like this thing I'm doing. And although my platform isn't huge, my point is that a lot more people might know who I am in terms of like being a regular person, and that maybe they could follow along and just understand that like this is a real person going through a real struggle, not some person that glamorizes it to be like easy or simple or just to be bigger than what it is. It's really, I'm just a regular person trying to better myself, and hopefully one or two people take something away from it, and maybe it'll make them want to be better.
Well, I actually really liked that you were only on Twitter, because I've always thought about documenting, and I think documenting is it's so good because it's cathartic for you too. Like I'm a big one for journaling and stuff, but to be able to do that, but doing it on Instagram, you need to like curate photos and get all that stuff together. And if you do it on Facebook, you've got to have like posts and all this kind of YouTube, you've got to edit your videos. Like I love what you're doing with Twitter, because you can just go and have a porn star mustache and go up in your car and just do it. And I think that is amazing. And I would suggest, like, even just for the next year, just staying on Twitter and like hopping on with your video or doing audio or just doing the like thing that you're doing right now. Cause I think that's encouraging. Like it's encouraging for me. I've never used Twitter. But I'm like thinking maybe that'll be good for me to do it, because it's kind of a low maintenance thing that people can actually like engage in. I thought it was brilliant.
I did think about taking essentially, and that's what I'm using for it. It's almost like you see day 18, day 12, like I'll document, and it's pretty much like like you said, it's like a journal. It's like almost like my personal diary, but it's not personal. It's out there in the open. And the idea is not only to help me keep track of what the hell's happening and when it happened, but if I want to do a video and maybe do a monthly recap, I can take those notes. I have them. So yes, I definitely have used Twitter for that. I just feel like I could be doing more, but at the same time, I don't want to overdo overdo it. I'm kind of like I said, I'm just kind of okay with where it's at, and maybe again the journey. I don't plan on the journey ending, but maybe when I hit a certain milestone, I'll launch a project or something to highlight where I started, where I've been, and where I'm at, and then go from there. There are ideas. It's just not a good time. I keep stressing that, but there's no such thing as a good time. You have to make the time good.
Yeah. See? Don't excuses will just pile up. Sometimes
I'm good
you
at
just
excuses.
Yeah, well, we all are, Mike. You're not alone there. This even Canadians make excuses, right, Leanne?
I've met some, yeah. Well, that's actually, I'll answer your question that you had for us before that I didn't want to answer about how we're doing with the sugar. So on my end of it, Mike's doing much better than I am. So he'll actually have those moments that he'll kind of break down, whatever, and have a, whatever. It's like daily. So when you say like, how long have you been like off of it? So about 4 hours, because like this afternoon I was doing really good. Like I keep doing really good. And then my sugar is done. Like I have zero craving. I've literally had cheesecake in front of me and it does not do anything for me anymore. So the actual sugar, I'm good with now, which I never thought I would be there. But the carbs, that's where my excuses come in. It's like, well, is it really going to hurt me if I have a little bit? Well, if this is a good one, then maybe I can have that. And so like, it was dumb. Today I was just like, everything was good. Everything was fine. And there was like a piece of like a bread, like a bit, I don't know. It was like bread, but it was like hard on the outside and soft on the inside and warm.
Oh, boy.
Like a French baguette or something.
Yeah, it was like that, but it was like a...
Oh, I know my breads.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, let's talk breads.
Literally staring at it. And I should have just walked out of the room is what I should have done. But instead, I'm staring at it, and it was like, will it really hurt you if I have a little bit? Maybe if you just have a little bit, then you won't think about it anymore. And I went through all these, like, stupid things.
Yeah.
Ate it. So it did nothing for me.
I don't avoid the carbs yet. I'm not there. I definitely avoid anything processed. So like, and when I go for my breads, I try to do stuff again that's the least amount of ingredients as possible. I really try to keep it grains more than like the processed like bleach flour and all that.
Yeah, carbs are harder. Janice is right.
They are.
Leanne, that's positive. Take Janice's advice and understand that it's the harder part of a journey, well traveled, and you're still battling every day, and you're aware and you're focused, and that's what Mike's doing. Mike is aware, and he's more focused, and he's got more knowledge on this subject than he's probably ever had. Isn't that fair to say, Mike?
Yeah, or it's one of those things. It's like you forget you know these things, and then you're reminded how dumb you were to ignore them this whole time. That works too.
Yeah, but you're not even ignoring it. It's just these chemicals are controlling you. They're controlling me.
I feel so much better just giving up processed foods. Though. That's pretty much like that's the first thing I gave up was like all the processed stuff. Again, the occasional pack of gummies or something, but like I told you, my kids have organic gummies. Those are not processed at all.
That's not a lie. That's true. It's true.
But it's like I feel so much better. Just like mentally sharper, physically more energy, natural energy at that.
Yep.
Almost every day, just because again, it's just a cleaner lifestyle, and I don't want to go back from feeling this way. But somehow I always relapse in a sense, and I'm really my goal is to not. I'm focused on not doing so, and I really feel stronger than ever, stronger than I have in a long time. That I won't go back to that feeling.
That's amazing.
Hell yeah, Mike. That's great. Patrick is trying to taunt us with Irish soda bread. Not cool, Patrick. Not cool. All right,
not
Mike.
Cool for you, Mike, putting it up there. We didn't have to see that.
No, that's part of the experience. You have to face it head on, okay? You can't hide. Mike, we'll wrap up the show here. Why don't you tell everybody where they can follow you as you continue along on your journey?
It's real simple. At Open Mike K. Open mic was taken, but it's the idea.
A lot of open mics out there.
Well, the idea was to be a play on words. And I realized Mike sounds like Mike, but then I'm like, that's not that clever. I'm like, I thought I was being clever, but it's really Open Mike K. The idea is to be open with everybody. So that's where I'm documenting everything daily. Kind of going from there, seeing what happens.
Hell yes, it's fantastic. We're very proud of you. I'm proud of you. I'm glad that I got to meet you last year, and now I'm friends with you, and I'm really impressed by the effort here. This is not easy to do. I know I said that earlier, so I am going to give you a lot of credit, Mike. Proud of you, and we thank you for helping us spread the word on this type of thing, because the more people that come out of the woodwork like yourself, the more people will feel support, and they'll identify with it. They really will.
Will you come back?
Oh, of course. And honestly, guys, this was a lot of fun. I enjoy these conversations. It's a nice change in pace, and it's nice to be open and vulnerable because, again, like you said, a lot more people can relate to this than you realize. And I'm not special, but I'd like to think that maybe again, if I could just help one person, it'd be great. Like just one person sees this and says, you know what? I like how he's talking. I like what he's doing. I like what they're doing. I like what they're hearing. The goal is to try to just better everybody around you. It's just the world's too angry.
Yeah. Well, we're about support, love, wisdom, empowerment, education. That's what we're focused on here. The old ways and the new ways. We're going to talk about the old ways, try to perform the new ways. And the more people we connect with, the bigger our community gets, and we just keep supporting each other. So we'll support you, Mike. You'll support us, and people out there who follow along the show, thank you for watching tonight. Thank you for watching Mike's experience. If you listen to the podcast, you can give us 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We would love that. And that's it. Don't forget, firstdaypod@protonmail.com. Send us an email, DM the show, the book club. Every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Come join us if you want to talk more in these little settings we have. Anything else, Leanne? Is that it?
No, I think that's it. Thanks so much, Mike. And Mike, bye.
Take it easy.